there's probably a greater likelihood the House flips than the Senate. Senate races are just different. They're statewide. Candidate quality has a lot to do with the outcome.
So he taking a shot at candidate quality. And is that a shot at you as chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee?
It's a shot at our candidates and the voters. I mean, let's look at this for a second. We've got a world-renowned doctor, a Heisman Trophy winner and successful business person, a small businessman and congressman from a farming community, a best-selling author who has shown the struggles of drug addiction, successful tech entrepreneur, an Iraqi war veteran who served 2 terms as state attorney general, successful construction company entrepreneur, and a nurse that brought her husband back to health who was blinded in Iraq. Do you think that sounds like we don't have great candidates? And by the way, the people in these states, they pick these people. So respect the vote of the people of these states. I'm going to fight like hell every day and be a cheerleader for our hardworking candidates to make sure we win in November. That's how you win in November. Support our candidates.
Support our candidates. Rick Scott is fired up, man. He's fighting with Mitch McConnell, but kind of. Because in response, as Brian Kilmeade asked him on the Fox News radio show, isn't he coming for you as head of the National Republican Senatorial Committee? He's supposed to be making sure that these Senate candidates have a good opportunity, have some money, help generate a way for them to get into office. He didn't just say all this stuff to Brian Kilmeade. He wrote an op-ed. Rick Scott is pissed off. Let's watch. Actually, let's read some of the things that he said in his op-ed in the Washington Examiner. He said, unfortunately, many of the very people responsible for losing the Senate last cycle are now trying to stop us from winning the majority this time by trash talking our Republican candidates. It's an amazing act of cowardice. Damn. And ultimately, it's treasonous to the conservative cause. Wow, there's more. If you want to talk about the need to raise more money to promote our candidates versus the Democrats' terrible candidates, I agree. If you want to trash talk our candidates to help the Democrats, then pipe down. That's not what leaders do. And Republicans need to be leaders that build up the team and do everything they can to get the entire team over the finish line. Ultimately, though, when you complain and lament that we have, quote, bad candidates, what you're really saying is that you have contempt for the voters who chose them. Damn. You know what the weird part about all that is, Jackson?
What's up?
It was tough talking. He said, I wrote it down. He goes, it's cowardly trash talking, treasonous behavior. That's not what leadership looks like. They need to pipe down.
That's strong words.
Did you see Mitch McConnell's name anywhere in the entire op-ed? I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Well, what's hilarious to me is like, just look at like the negative charisma that Mitch McConnell has. He's like, oh, like he slightly suggested maybe we should have some better candidates. But again, this just goes to the authoritative mindset that conservatives in this country have. How far right wing the conservative movement in this country has become. They want zero constructive criticism whatsoever, because when he says that's not what leaders do, obviously that's completely antithetical to the truth. Leaders criticize because they want things to be made better. They criticize themselves, they take criticism. But this reminds me, I don't know if any of y'all have seen it. It's a special on Netflix, but they're talking about the Mormons out in Utah and some of their mottos: to pray and obey, and keep sweet. And those guys, like, they got like 78 wives, and they're like, shut up, woman, go get 4 of your sister wives and come on in here into the bedroom.
Was
like,
that
give me some
was the Warren Jeffs thing, right?
Yeah, that was that one. Yeah, he was like totally nuts, like completely crazy. But he was like, I'm totally God's word, bro. Like accept it, like. But that's basically what it is. I mean,
it's the same approach, it's the same technique to use to make sure people follow you, and no matter what they see or know about you, that's the way it is. Now, one more part about this, because I don't talk about that cowardice line that Rick Scott had there towards, I guess, Mitch McConnell, because he didn't say his name. Speaking of cowardly, Rick Scott was also asked about those same great candidates that were TV doctors and Heisman Trophy winners. He was asked about this on Face the Nation a couple months ago, and you won't be surprised by his answer, but it's still outstanding. Watch.
In a local radio interview in July, you talked a lot about your business as an executive, and you said we should start electing people that we would hire. In Georgia, Herschel Walker Republican Senate candidate, has lied about the number of children he has, about his business dealings. His ex-wife said he held a gun to her head and said, "I'm going to blow your effing brains out." In Arizona, the candidate Blake Masters called the Unabomber an underrated thinker. He said that Al-Qaeda doesn't actually pose substantial threat to Americans. I mean, I've got a list of candidates here who've had some and said some pretty troubling things. Would you hire these people to work for you?
Well, you'd go through each person, but I'm not the one doing it. It's the voters of those states are doing it. The voters of those states are going to make a choice.
You're trying to help Senate Republicans and lead them to victory. These are your candidates.
So, Margaret, as you remember, the voters in Arizona choose who they're going to vote.
These are your candidates.
And the voters of each of these states. The voters of these states are going to decide if they're going to hire. Now, I get to vote. I get to vote in Florida, and that's how I think about it.
Oh, Rick. I'm gonna quote Rick Scott, you guys, as we wrap up this story. Republicans need to be leaders that build up the team and do everything they can to get the entire team over the finish line. I guess that's what he was doing there, because he definitely wasn't answering the question, which was, you said you would you hire any of these losers? And he went, you know what? Maybe dumbasses in Arizona will hire these losers, but
I'm not going to go that far. Right. I'm not going to go that far.
You're crazy.
That's basically what he did.